everybody, can you hear me okay? First question. Can you hear the guitar and the voice? Let me know. Oh, cool. So it looks like we have some folks on the live stream already, so that's great. Sorry, I had my phone on there to make sure it was working. I guess it is. Greetings, everybody. Bill Vencil here from Chords of Orion. I'm glad you're here on this live stream. So what I'd like to do tonight is just chill out a little bit. If you've got any questions, you want to talk ambient guitar, anything else, I mean, yeah, okay, we can talk about the coronavirus if we wish, but if you're like me, you may have been binging on the news, worrying about things, and so much of that is beyond our control, isn't it? But what is not beyond our control is what we do and how we think and how we create and enjoy art. That's totally within our control. So that's kind of why I wanted to go live tonight and just hang out with y'all. Let me cough for a minute. Oh, sorry about that. So let me greet some folks. Let's see, I see Matt and Chillin' Dreams, Brian Rose, Lightning Trucker, hey guys, Sidar, I think I mispronounced Chiluthian Dreams, sorry about that, John Smith, oh, John, you're sick, I'm so sorry to hear that. Let's see, Now What, GVB Jr., Vince, Jared, Marcus, Jess, Oscar Joe, Andrew, Brian, Now What Audio, Ambiguation. That's cool. Let's see. Lightning Trucker, Casper. Now what? Okay, Brian. Okay, cool. So let me go ahead and play for a little bit, and I'll answer questions. Oh, hey, Ed Rosen. Thank you so much for the super chat. Gosh, I really appreciate that. Truly, I do indeed. Let's see. Let me answer, oh, hey, Lightning, thanks for letting me know you can hear my voice. Let's see, do you use any parallel effects? So I'll answer one or two questions if they pop up, and then I'm going to play some. So I don't normally use parallel effects unless they are delays. For example, the TC Electronic Flashback triple delay, yeah, we've talked about that a lot, right? But it does do parallel delays, and you can get some really cool effects out of that. Sometimes also when I mix down, I'll use parallel effects. All right, so let me go ahead and play a little bit more. I have been using this 12-string a lot, and it's just been a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm going to get back to the baritones for sure. I've got my Headrush pedal board set up, and I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of Ebow, and let's see where we go with this. Probably still in the key of E. Yeah. You know, I never, ever, ever get tired of this. There's something magical about the Ebow. People ask me all the time, hey, why don't you use a Sustainiac or something else? But the Ebow keeps drawing me back. And this is the old guy. Here is the new guy that I had, I guess, on that comparison video a little while ago. They're both super cool. I don't know. Maybe the Sustainiacs are better. I feel like they're a totally different tool for getting sustained tones. Very, very different from the Ebow. All right, let me go ahead and check here and see what we got going on question-wise. Okay, Vince, yeah, you're playing the 12 a bit. More often than the baritone at the moment? Is that now your go-to? I don't have a go-to. I go through phases. Do you guys ever go through phases? I know I do. I go through phases where I like to either play different types of things. You know, maybe I'm on like a Celtic fingerstyle kick, or in this case, I had gotten this 12-string a while ago, and I used it, and then I put it in the corner and didn't pick it up for a while. And I picked it up a few months ago and restrung it with some nice Elixir 12 strings. I love the feel. And I've just gotten enthused about it. But yeah, I'm definitely going back to the baritone. One of the things I want to do with this, I actually bought the strings, but I haven't gotten around to it yet, is I'm going to put heavy gauge strings on this and tune it down to probably C or C sharp. Yeah, I am looking forward to that experiment. All right, ever used the so Jay says, hey, have you ever used the Eventide H9? I have not. I would definitely like to try it sometime, but I feel like I got a weird sound. Nope, I don't. Sorry, I thought I heard a weird sound somewhere. But the Eventide H9, definitely like to try it sometime to see how it behaves. I love the black hole plugin that I use when I record, so I'm pretty sure I'd like a lot of those effects. Let's see. Oh, John, I'm not. I meant sick as in this is very cool. Yeah, sorry, John. I know what the new definition of sick is, but that happened when I was kind of too old to pick it up. Yeah, I'm sorry. Anyhow, let's see what else. My question, Pine Puppy. If you could pick only one pedal, what would it be? Oh, I'd pick the pedal that I was interested in on the day that I had to pick the pedal. I don't think there's any one pedal that I would pick. And I don't think there's one pedal that you should pick either. It's what pedal fulfills the requirements of what you're looking to accomplish. And I just saw a fly. I hope it was just a fly by. That's a little early around here, I think. Although today was it was 78 degrees Fahrenheit here in Virginia where I am. So that's probably like 23 or so Celsius. It's pretty warm out. All right, let's see. Hey, thanks, Squeezy Smoochy. Appreciate that. The link for Amazon doesn't work. We're sorry comes up. I'm not sure what that link is. Maybe it's a link in the description, one of the affiliate links. If it does, I'm not sure what's going on. Let's see. Andrew, Bill, opinion on the Line 6 DL4, outdated or still viable? It's the only delay I currently own. I like it. Well, Andrew, if you like it, then it's still viable. That's the answer, right? If you're getting value out of a pedal, no matter what the age is or what it does, if you're getting value out of it and it's creating sounds that you like, then it's viable and you should keep it. That's one of the big reasons why I still have the Yamaha UD Stomp, because it gets sounds that I like. Even though it's old, it's crusty, it's rusty, 16-bit audio, it's not even 24 or 32-bit audio, it still sounds really, really good. So same thing, I think, with the DL4. If you like it, then it is totally viable. Let's see. Neon Impulse, after years of waiting on an Ebow, I got one. Oh, that is awesome. I hope you'll take the time, Neon, I hope you'll take the time to really work with it and learn the kind of the intricacies of the Ebow. If you've watched any of my older videos on Ebow, you'll know that one of my big things is taking the time to learn how to switch strings. So if you can do that, and it will take a little time. It took me about 30 years. That's because I was lazy, right? But if you take the time, probably not 30 years, but it took me a number of years to really get fluid or somewhat fluid with switching strings. If you can do that, the world is your Ebow oyster, so to speak. All right, let's see what else we got going on here. Let's see, Oscar Joe. Hey, how much music theory do you use? Well, when I was in college, I majored in music theory. I wanted to be a world-famous composer. That obviously didn't happen, but I had some really great music theory courses in college. I also happened to go to a high school that had one of the music teachers there was taught actually a college-level music theory class in high school, and that's what got me interested. So I've actually had a lot, but I have to admit I've also forgotten a lot. It's kind of burned into my brain, and I don't always think about the terminology, and I find sometimes that I have to look it up to remember, and then I go, oh, right, I've been using that all along. I just forgot what the name of the technique or the chord structure was or something like that. Music theory is really valuable. Highly recommend learning some music theory. It will help kind of explode the world of music for you. All right. Let's see what else we got going on here. Oh, Lightning's got a Godin DS1. Oh, that's awesome. Comment below. Let me know. Is that an acoustic or an electric Godin? I don't recall. I'm not up on all the numbers, but yeah, comment below, Lightning. Let me know what that is. Oh, thanks, Drew. Your music is very beautiful. I appreciate that. Let's see. What do we have any other questions here? So Casper, yeah, the plethora. Somebody asked about hooking up the plethora tonight, but I really decided, well, for one thing, I didn't have a lot of prep time as much as I'd hoped. So I had to go with the tried and true head rush. Was already set up with a nice patch, or at least one that I like. Just plug it in, ready to rock. The plethora is definitely interesting. I'm really interested to see where the firmware updates go. Right now, I have a pre-production version of it. And there's some things obviously missing. And to be fair to TC, when they sent it to me, they said, likely when it's available, it will have more features than what you're getting now because it's early on. So I'm definitely hopeful that the firmware will continue to progress and the features available on that pedal will continue to progress too. Okay, let's see what else here. Did the pedal feel and sound the same as the other pedals as well? Yeah, with the plethora, since you're loading in tone prints, so if you select, for example, the Flashback 2, to my ear, it sounds just like the actual Flashback 2 pedal that I have, if that makes sense. And then once everything's all wired up and you can buy the thing and download tone prints, I feel like you're pretty much going to have something that's very, very close, if not identical, to the pedal itself on the plethora. Let's see what's that 6? Let's see. Hey, Metal. Yeah. Were there any pedals you had high hopes for but let you down? Yes. So the one pedal, I actually removed the video. It's still there. It's unlisted, but I removed it from public. The Zoom, what's the CDR 70 or whatever it is. the chorus delay reverb single pedal. I actually did a video of that saying that, explaining why I was not interested in actually demoing the pedal. I personally don't like to do negative demos here on the channel. I would rather do a demo of a pedal that I really like and feel good about demoing and kind of presenting it for the audience here. But I didn't about that one, and I'd had so many requests for it, I decided I needed to make a video and say, hey, here's why I don't really want to demo it, because to me it was disappointing. The quality of the effects were not what I was expecting. The ease of use was not there. I feel like it's an older generation pedal at this point. It's been out for a number of years. So I had purchased it off of Amazon and I sent it back and then did a video. But I got a lot of hate comments about it. More than I've ever gotten before. It was kind of interesting. It was kind of cool. It was a new experience for me. But after a while, I kind of got tired of it, of the comments. And I think it was coming mostly from a subreddit. But I decided to make it unlisted. So if you've got the link, you can go and find it. But you won't be able to search for it anymore. I think there's been a few other pedals that disappointed me that I haven't mentioned because they were smaller pedal manufacturers. And so I had a chat with them, and typically I've sent the pedal back if they had, for example, sent me a demo. So that was rambling, wasn't it? Sorry about that. Let's see, what else we got going on here? What's that 6-string Ebow thing called? Do you use it? Oh, are you talking about the Gizmotron? I still have it, and I don't use it a lot because it requires that you dedicate an entire guitar to it. But I will use it again here on the channel. One of the things that they have done since I got the Gizmotron is they have created the wheels that spin. They've created wheels of different, I think it's silicone, but different compounds to provide a fuller sound and last longer. So that's pretty interesting. I got a new set of wheels a little bit ago, and I need to get them on the Gizmotron and give it a try. I think also I need to try the Gizmotron on a standard guitar. I've only been using it on a baritone, and I think it works really well, but I think I would like to try it on a standard guitar also to see how that works. All right, let's see, what else here? Do I want to buy weed? No, I don't want to buy weed. I mean, in the places in America where it's legal, go for it, but that's not really my shtick. What I enjoy more to relax is a nice glass of IPA. This happens to be, and no, this is not a sponsored live stream. This happens to be Elysian Space Dust. That's a really nice IPA. But no, I don't want to buy any weed, but thank you for the offer. Let's see. Bill, what is your opinion on getting swells by a reverb pedal? For example, Andy Othling uses it. So are you referring to a reverb that is a swell reverb? So you would turn the mix all the way to wet and then use the reverb swell as a volume swell. I have done that. I tend to prefer using a volume pedal because I have better control of the swell then. And if I want to swell slow or fast, I can do that. And I'll show you what I mean. If I want to swell slow, I can do that. If I want to swell fast, I can do that too. So I feel like the volume pedal gives you much more flexibility and control over what's happening with the swells. But I have done that from time to time. Let's see, what else did I miss here? Favorite ambient guitarist? I don't know. What's an ambient guitarist? What is ambient guitar anyway? What is anything, right? I can only tell you some of my favorite guitarists, and I had a video recently where I spoke about 10 of them. in terms of what I would call ambient guitar, which would be using delays and reverbs and volume swells, I would have to say that my biggest early influence was Steve Hackett, who is the original lead guitarist of Genesis way back in the early 70s. He was and is a master of volume swells and what I would call ambient lead tones. Again, using that word ambient loosely, right? Because it's in a way, it's kind of a meaningless phrase. So, hope that makes sense. Daryl Sturmer signature model. Go down. Thanks, Lightning. Okay, gotcha. I know you're a big fan of Daryl Sturmer, who is a fabulous guitarist. Bill, have you tried the Shoe Robert fuzz pedal? I have not. Somebody mentioned that to me recently, and I think I looked it up, and it definitely looks interesting, but I've not tried it. Whoa. Just had a quick scan to check. Your track, Immensity Cloistered, is my favorite. Oh, thank you. Immensity Cloistered is definitely a track that is very meaningful to me. I remember when I recorded it, kind of put it together, definitely. And the title also is meaningful to me, Immensity Cloistered, which is not shockingly enough from a poem. Let's see here. What else do we have? Let's see. I'd love to see what beauty you can create with one of the free software loopers that let you set loops of different lengths on the fly. That's from Ambiguation. Yeah, I would like to try a software looper. I have Apple's MainStage product, and that does have the built-in loop plugin, but that's the only software looper I've really worked with, and I'm not very good at it. I need to combine it with a MIDI controller, you know what I mean, so I can turn record on and off and such. But yeah, maybe sometime I'll look more into some of the other options. Let's see. Matt Von Wee Sports, it says, what is the best reverse delay? Ooh. I don't know what the best reverse delay is, but one reverse delay I really like is the Earthquaker Devices Avalanche Run. And part of the reason why I like it is the way it interacts with an expression pedal. Also, the way you can get it to kind of self-oscillate, which you can do with anything on the Avalanche Run. It's just really cool if you're into self-oscillating delays. Yeah, you did say reverse delay. Yep. Okay. Do I have any Helix patches available? Well, if you go to, I only own the HX Stomp, so I don't own a full Helix. I did do 1 or 2 HX Stomp patches that are on the cloud, and it's probably under Bill Vencil, so you can look them up. It's been a while. I think I might have like I don't remember, but you can check it out. Let's see. Should I get a Fender or Marshall amp? I don't know. Declan? Do you like Fender tones or Marshall tones? I love Marshall amps, but for me, when it comes down to it, when I'm trying to get a tone that I like, I generally go with a Fender style amp model. And when I used to use amps on a more regular basis, I have owned a series of Fender amps. In particular, with the old school prog rock band I played in way back in the day, I used a late 70s Fender Deluxe Reverb, and I always enjoyed playing through that amp. What I do now with the amp modeling situation is I like to use a Fender amp model running into a Marshall cab sim. To me, it's kind of the best of both worlds. You get the Fender chime, and you get that heaviness, the chunkiness, if you will, from the Marshall style cabinet, in particular the Celestion speakers. Okay, let me see what else we got going on here. I'm going to answer a few more questions, then I'm going to play for a couple more minutes, if you guys don't mind. I was watching demo astronaut, but I wasn't sure if you were using a volume pedal. I don't remember, John. You might want to look in the description of the video you're thinking of. Hopefully I listed out all the equipment there. Chances are I did have a volume pedal. Let's see. What distortion are you using for this? Oh, for this patch? That is the Headrush pedal board tube screamer. It's called I think it's a tube screamer. It's one of the built-in effects. Sorry, I couldn't think of the word. Built-in effects from the Headrush pedal board. So that's all it is. It sounds pretty good. Yeah. All right. Any comments about using or not using major or minor thirds doing ambient music in order to have an ambiguous key? Well, that's a great question, and that's something I actually think about a lot. So there's a lot of ambiguity in terms of key in what I play because I don't always play triads. As a matter of fact, I sometimes will play a dyad composed of the root and a ninth, such as this. So, what key was that in? Is that major or minor? The tonic there is a C. But really, what key is it? Is it C major, C minor, C something? Now, later on, I could play an E, and then I'd be in C major, right? But I could have played an E flat and been in C minor. So yeah, I do that all the time. I think major and minor thirds are fine and good to use, but if you want to be ambiguous, definitely think about the intervals of the notes you're playing in the context of the chords. All right. Greetings from the UK. Hey, Rob G. Sky, how are you doing? Just want to say your lessons on using multiple delays, volume pedal have been influential. Oh, okay. Great. I'm glad that was useful for you. Yeah, multiple delays, rock. I'm using 2 delays right now. I'm using the air delay and the dynamic delay. Here's the air delay setup. It's a 4-second delay. And here's the dynamic delay. Okay, kind of a dotted kind of thing. And when you put them together to, who was that said that? Oh, to Rob G. Sky's point, here's what you get. Yeah. Yeah, it gets nice and complex there as the decays continue. All right, let's see. Let's see, sorry, I'm running out. Which is your favorite scale to play and which key harmony do you feel more comfortable with? I don't think so much in scales. I mean, I know all the modes and all that good stuff, but as I play, I'm not necessarily thinking about that. A lot of what I do is very improvisatory, so I generally think more of the feel of what I'm trying to do. So I don't know. I don't think I have a favorite. I'm not big into chromatics. Yeah. I'm also not totally big into standard 7th chords like an E7, for example. There's nothing wrong with them, obviously. They've been used for fantastic music over the centuries, but for the types of things that I do, they don't tend to capture the feel for them that I personally am going for. Let's see. Do I prefer alternate or standard tunings, Bill? Yes, indeed. Both. Alternate and standard. The one tuning I haven't been able to get behind is, and ironically enough, since I'm a big fan of his, is Robert Fripp's new standard tuning. I play a version of that where the lower strings are the CGD, and tuned in fifths. But when we get into the first and second strings, I'm not down with that minor third between the second string E and the first string G. That doesn't, yeah, I don't like that at all. I would rather have a perfect fourth there, or perhaps even a perfect fifth. All right, I'm babbling tonight. Oh well. Let's see what. All right. Sorry. What is a good entry-level baritone guitar? It depends on what your your budget is. There's not many options. I don't know that I would call it entry level, but I would say a good moderately priced baritone is the PRS SE277. Those are the ones that I play here on the channel. I have 3 of them. I don't know what they're going for now. Some of the variations look like they're not available anymore. But what I did with all of mine is I waited until there was a big sale on an online music retailer. And in one case, I bought an open box that was also on sale. And instead of, I think they're going for like $750 US at this point, I was able to get mine more for 600-ish. And one of them I even got for like, I don't know, 525. It was a really good deal. So I don't know about the true entry-level baritones. I do know that you want to find one that can grow with you so you don't feel like, it's not useful to you over a longer period of time. So if it's a choice of saving up for a few extra months or a period of time, again, I don't know where you are in the world. I really, really like the PRSs. And again, I'm not an endorser for PRS. They have no idea who I am. And as I've mentioned, I've purchased every PRS that I own. So I just really like those guitars. Okay. What happened here? Hang on. Reverend Descent. Somebody recommended that. That could be. I've never tried it. The thing about the Descent that's kept me from wanting to try it is the scale length, I think, is only 26.5 inches. So that's only 1 inch longer than a Strat. And I feel like on a baritone, you really want to be minimum 27 inches. And the PRS, I think, is even better at 27.7 inches. I feel like you get better string tension with that longer scale. But Reverend, this is a Reverend, right? It's an Airwave. It's a fine guitar. It's well built. It sounds great. So could be worth checking out. Am I a Capricorn? I don't know. My birthday's in July, so whatever that makes me. Let's see. Do you have more thoughts about the plethora? Oh, okay. Yeah, I talked about that a few minutes ago. I think it's got a lot of promise. Again, the firmware is gonna evolve, I think, pretty rapidly. So I'm really excited to see where it's gonna go. I don't think at this point it's gonna be an all-in-one like trying to stuff amp modeling and distortion along with the other products. I think is going to be too much because there's only 5 slots. But if you're looking for a way to get a couple of delays, a couple of reverbs, a compressor, some of the other, and you're looking for a way to get that in one go, and what I think is probably going to be cheaper than buying 5 of the single TC Electronic pedals, it's definitely worth considering for sure. And I think I mentioned this on the video. It is built like a tank. It's a really solid. I'm looking around for it here. I don't see it. It's a really solid case. So I think it'll be roadworthy for sure. All right. Let's see. Have ever tried the Eventide Space? No, I would like to, but I've only tried the Black Hole plugin, and it is awesome. Okay. Let's see. You know what? I want to play for a few minutes. I'm going to keep the chat where it is, and I'll go through a few more comments here in a minute. But let me play for a minute. And I'm not sure what I'm going to play. Maybe just some volume swells. Hey, wait a minute. That was a major third. Oh, yeah. Whew. That felt good. All right. When's a new album coming out? I'm not saying. I made a prediction about this time last year, and I didn't come through. Due to what I think are legitimate circumstances, but still. I do want to put out another album. I've got a lot of music just waiting to go. I'm going to be. I don't know about you guys. If you want to comment on what you're doing, in particular, if you're in the Western world, if you're not in the Western world, that's fine too. But what are you guys doing in terms of isolation or quarantine or whatever? I live in Virginia in the U.S. and as of today, we don't have a quarantine, but we're supposed to be social distancing. Not gathering in groups of more than 10. I do live in a rural area, so I'm very fortunate, very blessed to be able to easily access a forest with about 1 million acres of trees and not a lot of people in there. So it's pretty easy for me to get out, but I know that not everybody's got that same option, in particular if you're in a big city. So let me know. I'd be interested just to see what everybody's doing. Also, I'd be interested to know, if you are stuck at home, what you're doing in terms of music. If you are a musician, are you taking that time to create more music? Do you have other things going on that are still, kind of taking up time and perhaps you're not able to do as much? We'll see. Most of you know I have a full-time job. I've been off this week, but I'll be back on the job on Monday. It's all telecommuting for my company. So I'm hoping that because I'm not going to be commuting back and forth, I'll have a little extra time to attend to videos and recording and maybe some of the mixes for that album. We'll see. Let's see what else we got going on here. I probably missed some, so I apologize if I did. I really, there's a bunch that flew by while I was playing. Do I record direct from guitar with AmpSim? Yes. Absolutely. That's what I do. I own I own four amplifiers, and three of them are tube amplifiers. They're all small, custom built tube amps. And then I own an old crate power block that, interestingly enough, sounds really nice through like a 4x12 cabinet, but I stopped using them shortly after I started the Chords of Orion channel, and I switched over to amp modelers. What I'm using tonight is the Headrush pedal board. What I used for the first 4 or 5 years of Chords of Orion was an Avid 11 rack. I also have a Line 6 HX Stomp, and there's some very fine sounds in that. I have this is not an ad, but I just happen to have it sitting here. I happen to also have the Strymon Iridium, and if you're looking for a pedal kind of amp modeler, that's a great choice. So you can get some really fine sounds with amp modelers these days. I think if I played blues, like in a blues band, I'd still be using a tube amp. I mean, I don't think there's a substitute for the real thing, but for what I'm doing, these amp modelers work great. Let's see, Roseby, I play in church in a folksy kind of sound. That's great. I play in my church too, but we're not folksy. We're more traditional. I do play acoustic guitar, which is fun. I play with with a pianist and another guitarist, and we do all the old traditional Christian hymns. Some of you guys would, if you ever went to my church, you'd probably think, what the heck? But I really enjoy it. I love the old Christian hymns. There's a wonderful history behind the music, and obviously as a Christian, I find the words meaningful too, as you might imagine. Hello from Portugal. Hello. Thoughts on the Sustainiac system? Yeah, I mentioned that earlier. I've never tried one. It looks really cool. I do think it's a very different instrument from the Ebow, though. I think it's its own thing, from what I've heard. I don't think I could do Sustainiac types of sounds with an Ebow, and nor do I think the Sustainiac would substitute for an Ebow, depending on how you're using the Ebow. Jacob, do you ever play live? I did last September. I've got a video here on the channel of an excerpt of my live performance in upstate New York at an electro music festival. So that was a lot of fun. I don't know if I'll do any this year, but that was really my only live performance as Chords of Orion. Let's see. Oh, Casper, you want to plug in your amp and board thanks to your playing, but it's 1 p.m. in your apartment flat, and you've just got a 50-watt tube amp. Dude, you got to get something smaller for an apartment. Or is it 1 a.m.? 1 p.m., but I'll bet it's 1 a.m. Okay, let's see, what else? Have I ever played with a guitar synth? Yes, I've owned several. In 1978, I bought an ARP Avatar, and it was like serial number 150, and I used that for a number of years. That was really insane to use. It was very difficult. The tracking was bad. You had to change everything about the way you played, but it was really sweet, and I wish I still had it. The whole circuit board burned out at some point, and I never got it fixed. And I owned an original Roland GR300, the kind of the Robert Fripp King Crimson one from the early 80s. That was pretty sweet. And an Ibanez MIDI guitar controller with an Ensoniq modular synthesizer. I think that's the last one I owned. Yeah. Full-on guitar synth, yep. All right. Mephi2Go says practice so much. So I'll take that at face value. Agreed. Practice. If you've got extra time during this extraordinary period in our history, if you've got extra leisure time because of what's going on, practice, definitely. Agreed. Let's see what else here. You talked about putting Hank Smith, you talked about putting heavy gauge strings on the 12 string. Do you do your own setups? Yes. If it's on an electric and it's things like setting neck relief and bridge height and intonation, yes. On an acoustic, I typically, and that's obviously a lot less frequent, but I'll typically take that somewhere. I don't feel as comfortable with that because if you make a mistake, it could be like a permanent mistake. So, yeah, but on the electrics, absolutely. Okay. Let's see. I don't know. Do we have any other came across? Oh, do I use tube preamps with amp modelers? I do. Oh, that's an interesting question. Tube preamps with amp modelers. I have I have one tube preamp, but it's got a built-in. It's the IRT Pulse, Ironheart IRT Pulse, and that has a built-in cab simulator. I've also used it with other cabinet simulators, but I don't think I've ever combined it with an amp model because the tube preamp sounds pretty good the way it is. But might be worth trying. I want to see more about ambient with classic guitar. I don't own a classic guitar. I never have. I've had friends who've owned them and I've played them, but I'm not sure why I've never owned one, but I never have. But maybe I should get one sometime. All right. I think I'm going to go ahead and play for a few more minutes. See if there's any more questions that come up. Here we go. What do I want to do? I think I want more Ebow. That's what I think. With distortion. Ebow with distortion. Yeah, that'll do it. Any old who. I don't know. So, a couple things to think about then. If you're stuck at home like I am, make use of the time. If you haven't thought about plans for new songs, perhaps new playing techniques, new musicians to listen to, now's a good time to take advantage of that. I think another thing to do or to think about also is how can you share your music, your art with others? There's a lot of people listening right now, right? So many people in the world are either in quarantine or stuck at home or social distancing. Now's a time where we can encourage one another through the art that we create and share. So give that some thought for sure. Now, let's see. I just saw a couple things here. UK locking right down now. Yeah, I did see that in the news today. We've had a few states here in the United States that are essentially kind of locked down to California. I think I saw Ohio or Illinois, New York, obviously because of New York City. So it's pretty interesting, for sure. But how can we help encourage one another? I think that's really important, for sure. All right, let me try something else here. I think I want to use a split capo here if I can get this on here and it doesn't throw things out of tune too much on the 12 string. If it does, I'm not going to play it. I'm not going to take the time to retune. So you guys know about the partial capo, right? So this capo covers strings 5, 4, and 3, and if you put it on the second fret, you get kind of a dadgad style tuning. Obviously, the low string is tuned to E, not D, so it's one step higher than standard dadgad, but it's the same relative notes. Too many delays going. Can you believe it? I have too many delays. right, let's see. What do we got going on here? Okay, so Heavy 70 says, I play an ASI Sustainiac from 91. You're right, it's a very different animal than an Ebow. Yeah, I thought so, for sure. Nuno Fernandez says, I'm using the extra time at home to finally set up my home studio. Excellent. And start composing and recording again. That is awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. Life goals. I hope I'm still rocking out when I'm Bill's. What do you mean? I'm only 29. In my dreams. Yeah. I kind of remember being 29. When I was 29... When I was 29, I had 2 kids, and they were both babies. And both of those kids are now married, and they have multiple kids. I won't tell you how old they are, though. But they're not young anymore. So let's see. I got a couple of other interesting life goals. Sorry. Is that a hollow body, Connor? It is a semi-hollow body, kind of like an ES335, I guess. But yeah, semi-hollow body. And I think it does make a difference on the tonality of the guitar. I'm a big fan of semi-hollows. Let's see. John Riley. As a pastor in the Black Hills of South Dakota, I would love to visit there someday. Taking time to figure out how to keep parish safe while still providing care. Absolutely, that's a challenge. Making time for recording and noodling with the guitar. Well, that's great, John. I definitely, I'll say a prayer for your ministry tonight before I go to bed, for sure. Okay. Hello, Mr. Vencil. I'm very inspired. This is from Dimitri. By your musical concept, you influenced me to start making ambient music. Well, that's great, Dimitri. I hope that it provides a lot of joy and a wonderful creative outlet for you as you progress your art over the years. Vince, where do you go when your eyes are shut playing that? You mean like this? Sure, I go anywhere, but I find when I play with my eyes shut, it helps me concentrate on the tone of the notes, if that makes sense. The other thing with my eyes shut is that I visualize where my fingers are going to go. So right now, my fingers are going to change to this. And they're going to go here to that A. And then this B, right? But again, is it a B major or a B minor? Yeah. So I don't know. It helps empty my mind of conscious thought and then kind of lets I don't think it's subconscious, but it lets everything to work together. I don't know how to describe it. But what I want to do is lose thinking about the music and just play the music, if that makes sense. I don't want to think about it. I just want to play it. All right. Should have gone to bed an hour ago. Oh, tomorrow's Saturday. E major ambience, great. Okay, yeah, I'm babbling. Let's see, Pine Puppy. Thoughts on Bandcamp. I love Bandcamp. I highly recommend releasing your music on Bandcamp. It doesn't cost anything to release it, and the percentage that they keep is very reasonable. There's nothing but upside. Now, I will say that I feel like less people are interested in downloading these days. I've noticed that the frequency of people downloading my albums has decreased. Some of that is due to me not releasing an album for over a year. It's been about a year and 5 months since I've had a full-length release on Bandcamp. But I do have also a Bandcamp subscription page where you can pay. Sorry, I don't mean this to be a promotion, but since we're talking about Bandcamp, this is another nice way. If you do have a little bit of traction with an audience, Bandcamp has a subscriber option, so it's kind of like Patreon, if you will, and people can pay whatever you charge for a month or a year, and then you have the opportunity of providing exclusive content for them. And so that's what I've done. I haven't been as constant with it as I would like. As a matter of fact, I'm due for another exclusive subscriber piece. I'm going to try and get out here before the end of the month. But I try to get once or twice a month. Once every month or two. That's the right way to say it. Get something exclusive for my subscribers out there. So you might want to consider that too. It's pretty nice. So anyhow, I love Bandcamp. I love the fact that it's all smaller, independent musicians, and they're a good outfit, for sure. I hope they can survive and continue to prosper long term with the download kind of paradigm, if you will. We already had favorite pedal of all time. I have no favorite pedal of all time. Do I? Nah. I don't have a favorite pedal of all time. I have a lot that I really like, but not a favorite. Just got my first FV500H. Oh, great. Volume pedal. Go for it. Practice. It's good. James has been a subscriber for a while. Oh, that's great. Thank you, James. I appreciate that. So I assume you mean a band or maybe a YouTube subscriber, but thank you for that too. But occasionally I will run into Bandcamp subscribers, and I really appreciate the support that they provide. It's very nice. Let's see. Where's my church? It's in Virginia. I am near a town called Winchester, which is due west of Washington, D.C. So it's an old church building, and I am an old school, crusty, rusty, Reformed Calvinistic Presbyterian, so like the old crusty rusty style Presbyterian, if that makes sense. If you don't know what that is, just look up church history a little bit. You'll figure it out. Let's see. What reverb am I using right now? It's the Air reverb on the Headrush pedal board. It's a really nice sounding reverb that's built into the Headrush. Let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, Rockin' Dave Byron. Yes, I agree with Bill. I often play and practice with my eyes closed. It opens up the internal senses. Absolutely. The other thing, if I can get back to that for just a moment, the other thing I suggest, I've got a video that I posted like 5 years ago, is learn how to play with your eyes closed. You know, it really helps free you up if you don't have to look at the fingerboard all the time. So it is definitely worth learning how to do that. Like, I still have to look at the fingerboard for, more complex runs up the neck, but I'm pretty comfortable not looking at the fingerboard when I'm playing chords or flat picking like I just did, volume swells, that type of thing. And it's really freeing in terms of being able to express yourself musically. Let's see. Thoughts on DistroKid. I've never used DistroKid. I've heard some good and some bad about DistroKid. So I use CD Baby. I've been using them since 2008, like before Chords of Orion. I put out an acoustic album on a CD, and they actually sold CDs for me. I've been using them for a long time, and they may take a little bit more, but CD Baby doesn't have what I think are probably hidden costs that DistroKid seems to have. It's once you pay, you know what the upfront cost is, you know what the percentage is that they're going to take, and they pay every week. Every Tuesday they pay. So, and they pay without fail. So I like CD Baby. Now, I'm not saying DistroKid is bad. That's just CD Baby's the one I'm familiar with. If anybody else has experience with DistroKid, go ahead and leave a comment and let everybody know what you guys think about it. Let's see here. Let's see. Chris says, hello from Australia. Have been playing guitar since I was 10. Awesome. And but currently doing some frippertronics with a synth in my DAW. That's a great idea, actually. Was wondering if you had advice for improvising ambient music still new. Well, I think the advice I have for improvising is think about texture in terms of what you want to create. So, for example, let me turn the distortion back on and the other delay. So, for example, the kind of patch that I have, these are longer delays. So what I want to think about when I'm improvising is longer types of lines. So where am I going to go from there? Well, I could go down a major third. Yeah. And where would I go after that? Well, I might go up a perfect fourth. No, I might want to change it up. Oh, yeah. So all of a sudden now I've ended up with an E as kind of the tonal center. So I still have the E as a tonal center, but I kind of ended on that F sharp, right? But you heard the E a moment ago, so you still have that in your ear, in your brain, right? So there's that E, right? But if I hit that F sharp, you're still thinking, right? It's kind of like psychoacoustically thinking, oh, that's an E. Those are some of the ways I think about improvising. I also think about what if I'm going to play something that's more melodic, what is the melody going to be about? I need my pick. So here's the other thing when you're improvising with lots of delays, think about the rhythm of the delay and use that to help you play your melody. So let's check out this delay time here. So that wasn't really that great. I should have switched the tap tempo on that delay, but you kind of get the feel, right? So play around with what you've got going on with your effects chain. Think about the melody you're trying to produce, and think about then variations on the melody right? Because that's where, when improvising, if you think about jazz players, they start with a basic melody, right? And then it's all about variations and alterations of the basic melody of whatever that tune might be, if it's a standard, like a jazz standard tune. So I kind of think that the same way. I'm not a jazz player, though, but some of those concepts, I think, cross genre no matter what style you're playing. All right, let's see here. Thoughts on DistroKid, blah, blah, blah. What volume pedal do I prefer? Oh, my goodness. My main volume pedal, Squeeze, is a Morley Little Alligator, which sadly Morley discontinued this past year in 2019. And I have to tell you, I was heartbroken. I love that volume pedal. And when I think he's the VP of sales at Morley. I've had some conversations with him over the last couple of years, and he let me know that it was they was being discontinued. So as soon as I heard that, I went on Amazon and bought one of the last, well, maybe not one of the last, but I bought another Little Alligator, and it's sitting behind my backdrop there. Behind me, I've got a shelf back there, and it's in the box on the shelf so that when my current one breaks and I can't get it, when it's dead, I can pull that one out and keep using it. That's my favorite volume pedal. Made me cry when I heard, well, not literally. It made me cry inside. Do I play on my church's worship team? Yes. So if you got, I know not everybody here is religious, but if you can, since I've got a question on it, I won't get preachy, promise, but let me just describe what we got going on. I go to a traditional church. It's an old school Presbyterian church. We play mostly traditional hymns. So we don't really have a worship band or a worship team. It's very traditional, and we focus on accompanying the congregation. So it's all about the 200 people or so in the audience. It's all about them singing. To me, that's what church music is all about. It's all about the people. It's not about the musicians on the stage. So I'll stop there for you, those of you who are not religious. I don't want to bore everybody. But if you have more questions about that, shoot me a direct message or something. I can tell you a little bit more about what I think. Flamenco. Oh my gosh. Have I ever explored flamenco-inspired ambient? No, I haven't. That sounds kind of interesting. Have I, Ed Rosen, have you ever thought about quitting your day job and doing music full-time? You mean like, is there ever a time when I haven't thought about quitting my day job and doing music full-time? I constantly think about it, and I try not to let it get me frustrated because I don't think it's going to happen. I think for me, what might happen if my retirement savings comes back after this week is that eventually I will be able to stop working full-time, in essence kind of be in semi-retirement mode, and that retirement income would then free me up to essentially be a full-time musician. But as far as making a full-time income, I don't think that's in the cards for me. I have a big family. I have a lot of responsibilities. I've got a long career in IT. I'm an IT consultant. So I don't see a path to being able to quit my job. And I'm okay with that. I've done a couple of videos on that here on the channel. Look them up. And I would like to encourage anyone else that's in the same situation as me, don't let it stop you from creating. It may keep you from creating as fast as you might like, but don't let it stop you from creating. I think there are always creative ways to kind of get around the situation where you have to work a day job. Hope it didn't sound like I was preaching too much. Okay, let's see what else. Volume pedal, blah, blah, blah. Sorry, I don't mean blah, blah, blah. These are great comments. Do I have guitar computer interfacing videos? Enjoy the lives. I've got a couple early on where I talk about a mobile recording rig and how to hook the guitar directly into the computer. But I think I'm probably about due for a refresher. So if you're interested, maybe in the next couple months I can get a couple of those out. Maybe starting from scratch, like here's where you start with the guitar. Here's how you get it incorporated into your recording interface, and then kind of get recording. Yeah, I could do something like that. It's probably about time. John Riley, we're actively about 120 members. You should definitely stop by. Sorry, I might have missed the other thing. Are you in my area? In Winchester? Or the Winchester, Virginia area? That'd be kind of cool. Hey, Behavior 99, Argentina. Awesome. What do I think of Mogwai? I like some Mogwai. One of my sons turned me on to Mogwai a number of years ago. Now, I will say I don't listen to them every day. For me, they're not like an everyday playlist kind of band, but they definitely have some interesting music for sure. Let's see. Dun, dun, dun. Sorry, I know you like fifths to keep the key ambiguous. I like to improvise in major keys and use harmonics to build a sound. Oh, that sounds like a fine idea to me. And that's from Fred blogs. So, all right. When's the world tour? I think this is the world tour. So Samuel Penn says, the good thing about not being a full-time pro musician is that the chance that a record company exploits you is low. Amen, brother. I agree. like non-existent, right? But here's the thing that's interesting. There's so many more options. Even if I was a full-time musician, there is no chance I would ever go through a record company. Why in the world would you want to share what limited revenue you could make with a record company when you have all the tools to build an audience, to build a following, to create and release music on your own? I don't. The argument there is really weak at this point. Now we'll see what they do when they're trying to make a comeback, right? And they've had a couple of good years, and they're using judicial cases and things like that to try and get back to where they were. But I still think we have such great opportunities to create music on our own and build followings on our own without having to split that time, energy, and revenue with a record company. Have I ever thought about doing an acoustic album? You mean another one? Yeah, I have. The last one I did was in 2008. It's called In the Wilderness. It's on Bandcamp, but it's under Bill Vencil, not Chords of Orion. I have thought about doing another one, but I'm not sure if I would do it as Chords of Orion or not, unless it was kind of off in the direction of the music that I do here. Let's see here. Oh, sorry, John. Yeah, we had a couple conversations going. Sorry about that. Your Williams used to be a priest in Williamsburg. Oh, cool. Okay, let's see. We got, what kind of music, or better yet, what music genres do you listen to in a day-to-day basis? What are some of the artists you have been listening to recently? So I like a variety of music, and it depends on the mood I'm in. Sometimes I do listen to ambient music. Brian Eno is always enjoyable to me. I'm a huge fan of Robert Fripp, but at this point in my life, I don't listen too often because I feel like a little separation from that strong influence is probably a good thing for me, so I don't get too laser focused. The same is true of Alan Holdsworth. If you're not familiar with Alan Holdsworth, I would highly recommend his music to you. But I, at this point, try not to listen to it too often. I was so influenced by the tone and the sound. Again, I want a little separation. So I tend to go for things I'll go through old prog rock. I love that. Caspian is probably my favorite of the newer kind of post-rock bands. I really enjoy Caspian a lot. I was sorry they had to cancel their tour. They were coming close to my house, and one of my sons and I were thinking about going to see him. So I was really sorry to hear that was canceled. I also listened to a lot of classical music. In these last week or so, I've been really kind of binge listening to Bach, in particular the Bach cantatas. BMV 140 and 147 are two of my favorites. So you can look those up by the catalog numbers, BMV 140 and then BMV 147. He was so amazing. I also love to listen to old school country and bluegrass. And by old school country, I mean before 1950 country. And by bluegrass, I mean typically like real bluegrass, not the stuff you would hear on the Country Music Awards, like real bluegrass. So kind of and jazz. Love jazz. And then, occasionally I'll get in the mood for The Who. Oh, yeah, I'll turn them on. Oh, yeah, Pink Floyd. Like Pink Floyd. All the old school stuff from my era. I listen to that occasionally, too. So I'm kind of all over the place. It depends on my mood. I'm kind of rambling now, aren't I? Okay, Jean-Luc Ponty. I love Jean-Luc Ponty. Yes. So I saw Jean-Luc Ponty way back in the day in a small theater, and he played in quadraphonic. So he had 4 speakers around the auditorium, and it was amazing. It was amazing. Yes, Wacket auf ruft uns die Stimme. Sorry, if you're German here on, I apologize. But yes, I believe is it awake? It's awake for the watchman, something. I forget what the German is. But yeah, that's 147, I think, right? That is an amazing cantata. Okay. How long have I been a Christian? A long time. 45? 50 years? It's been a long time. Have I tried Niels Fromm or A Winged Victory for the Sullen or also Hildur? No, I think Hildur, I don't know how to pronounce the last name. I think I have heard that, but the other two, no. Okay. Yeah, when everything falls into the backdrop, Bach will still be there. It's genius. I agree. I told my wife the other day, again, sorry to wax religious again, but I said, you know what I think the background music in heaven's going to be? I think it's going to be Bach. No doubt. It's going to be Bach. He was so good. So many wonderful pieces. I will say, here's another composer that I really like who's a lot newer than Bach. It's Charles Ives. He was a composer that lived, his main composing time was from about 1895 to about 1920. And in particular, if you ever get a chance, listen to his piece called 3 Places in New England, and you will hear a lot of the influence of ambient sensibility in my music from that piece. I first heard it when I was 14 or 15, and it kind of changed my world, like in terms of thinking about music. It was pretty incredible. So Charles Ives, Ives, 3 Places in New England. Definitely check that one out. Vivaldi, oh yeah. Love the channel. Thanks, John. What makes a piece ambient? I don't know. What makes a piece ambient? I think in a way, ambient guitar, that phrase it's a phrase that has, in some ways, no or very little meaning because it may or may not be ambient music, right? So when we think about ambient music, we think about music that was created to be in the background. So, for example, Brian Eno's Music for Airports is a classic piece. And the concept of ambient music goes back into the 1800s and maybe even before. This idea of playing music that is unobtrusive and fades into the background. Ambient guitar may or may not be ambient music, right? So what is ambient guitar? Is it just guitar with delays and reverbs? I don't know. I have to be honest with you. Want to know? You want to hear a secret? I have to be honest with you. I played in an old school prog rock band, right? And I always thought, I always thought this kind of stuff. I always called that progressive rock. But in about 2012, when I started thinking, oh, maybe I could do a YouTube channel, all of a sudden I discovered people were calling stuff that sounded a little bit like that ambient guitar. And I thought, what the heck? We might have called that space guitar or prog guitar or cosmic guitar or textural guitar. So ambient guitar was kind of, I almost view it as a marketing term because we kind of have a herd or group or community sense of what it is, but we don't have a written description of what it is, right? It's kind of like I'll know it when I hear it, but I can't tell you what it is. How's that? All right, let's see. What do we got going on here? Do I like Tycho? Yeah, I do. Dive. Yeah, Dive is a good album. I have to admit I don't listen to Tycho a lot, but I do enjoy Tycho when I think about it and cue up some Tycho for sure. I like Sigur Rós too. Don't get me wrong. And there are other groups that we typically think of as ambient groups that I enjoy. You guys got to remember though, I am probably maybe older than some of you on the live stream and definitely older than many of the subscribers that I have on YouTube. So my sensibility comes more from progressive rock versus post-rock, if that makes sense. So if you grew up listening to, maybe you're 20 or 25 years younger than me and you grew up listening to punk, for example, and then as post-rock kind of came into the fore as an offshoot of some of the punk sensibilities, right? But it's not punk music, but some of those sensibilities from punk music, and then developed into its own thing, and then kind of came around into something that people call ambient music or ambient guitar. That's a lot different of a direction than coming from progressive rock or fusion or jazz influenced types of things. So I'm a little different that way, right? So post-rock, I enjoy it, but I have to admit I've got I can't listen to it all day, right? Except for Caspian. I can listen to Caspian all day. There's something about them. That's just really cool. Charles Ives, first ambient composer. I'd say Eric Satie is typically what people would cite when they kind of talk about an ambient composer from the 1800s. Greetings from Greece. Oh, greetings. Vince says, I had to study the Four Seasons. That is a great piece of music, Vivaldi Four Seasons. If you're not familiar with it, please check it out. Pull it up on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever you stream music on. Check it out. It's a fabulous set of music. The Four Seasons, Antonio Vivaldi. Absolutely. When in doubt, Eno. Yes, John. Agreed. Debussy. I like Debussy, but I could only take him for a little bit because he's too close to romantic music, full-on romantic music, which I don't typically enjoy. I enjoy specific pieces, but the genre as a whole is less enjoyable to me than other classical subgenre like Baroque or modern or the classic itself, like, say, Beethoven, which was kind of in between classic and romantic. But yeah, Debussy, definitely. Best placement for a compressor on your pedal board, James Lucas. Okay, so I'll get back to you, DP, in a minute. Best place to put a compressor is first thing. That's where I would say put it. First up, in particular if you're playing quote ambient styles like I do, it's helpful to squish the dynamics a little bit before you go into a volume pedal or a distortion pedal. That's my opinion. Let's see. Favorite American composer: Charles Ives, Aaron Copland. Absolutely. Love Aaron Copland. Sautier's furniture music. Absolutely, Connor. Good. Good call. Yep. Did I mention that? If I didn't mention furniture music, yes, absolutely. That's kind of the classic citation for early ambient music, the genre ambient music. Any thoughts on Radiohead's Ed O'Brien's work? I really enjoy Radiohead, and the some of the older stuff. Ed O'Brien's work. I don't think of Ed O'Brien as a very technical player. People cite his use of Ebow and Sustainiac all the time, and so he can make some beautiful textures, but he's not a very technical player. But I think what he does works really well within the compositional context of Radiohead. So I think about him in much the same way that I think about the Edge from U2. So as we think about the Edge, you can only name a handful, whether you like him or hate him, right? You can only really name a handful of rock players who would be more influential than the Edge. But as I think about the Edge, he's not a very technical player, right? And in another musical context, what he does would not necessarily sound awesome. It wouldn't necessarily work. But in the context of U2, in the synergy of the band members, it works really well. So that's kind of how I think of Ed O'Brien, and the way he fits in with the rest of Radiohead. Works really, really well. And there's a lot of guitar players like that, right? Neil Young is a great example. He's not a technical player, but in the context of what he does, whether you like it or hate it, right? So feel free to hate it. And in the context of his voice, like it or hate it, it works really well. I hope that makes sense. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? Okay. Am I familiar with Windy and Carl? No, I'm not. That is from MRT77WV. Let's see, what else we got going on here? Yes, so Jeremy, we just talked about Eric Satie, so hopefully you heard that. Do I use any visual for my music, especially anything out in nature, since you live in a rural area? I don't think I consciously use visuals. I am more sound focused, and as I've gotten older with my hearing, maybe that's dulled a little bit. I think I can still hear well enough to mix music, but sometimes when I'm walking, I have tinnitus, so sometimes when I'm walking in the woods, the high pitch of my tinnitus, if it's really, really quiet and there's no wind, that's what I hear, and it's kind of a shame. So I guess I do rely more on visuals now, but it's more being out in the forest, in particular with my wife, who is amazing. And I really enjoy those times with her in the forest where we're looking at plants. She is very up to speed on herbs and different plants in the forest, and she's taught me a lot. And so just looking at everything that's out there in nature. And then I kind of bring that experience back, and that can be an inspiration, if you will. But I don't think I have visuals in my mind. It's more just the sound. Like let me know what you think. Like when I go to sleep at night, I have music running around in my head. A lot of times I dream music. I've done that for decades and decades. It's more that kind of thing than visuals. All right. What's your favorite band? Yeah. What's my favorite band? I'd have to say my favorite band is old school. If as I think about my life and my influences and the band that I played in, I'd have to give a nod to old school Genesis. In other words, Genesis with Peter Gabriel. I can't underestimate how influential the band was, including Steve Hackett on guitar, including some of the songs that they released, such as Supper's Ready and The Fount of Salmacis. Those two pieces are very meaningful to me as I think about my life experience. So maybe I give the nod to old school Genesis, because I'm old school. Favorite guitarist besides Alan Holdsworth? Well, I did a whole video on that. 10 of my favorite guitar songs and the guitarists. But I'll run down a couple. I already mentioned Steve Hackett. On the acoustic side, Robert Fripp, Alan Holdsworth, Steve Hackett. Those three weigh heavily on the electric side. On the acoustic side, Norman Blake, who is a bluegrass player. He was very influential in terms of me learning how to flat pick. Whoop, like this. So that's where I learned all that stuff from. So that's Norman Blake and Michael Hedges. And I have a lot of acoustic players, but the third one I'll pick is Martin Simpson, who's an English player. And he is still around, alive and kicking, and his playing is, just amazing. So those are 6. There's many, 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 many more. And some I'll think of tonight when I go to bed and say, dang, why didn't I mention them? Okay, let's see here. Foraging for food in the forest may come in quite useful. Yes, and I happen to be married to a woman who can forage in the woods. She just harvested a bunch of stinging nettles, and you wouldn't believe the soup you can make out of stinging nettles, potatoes, and wait for it, bacon. Oh, yeah, it's amazing. All right, I'm going to play for a couple more minutes here, and then I'll answer a couple more questions, but my wonderful IPA is sitting there waiting for me to drink, and so I'm going to need to get to that at some point. But let me go ahead and play for a few more minutes. I'm going to do some Ebow without the distortion, and we'll see where that goes. I'm feeling kind of major key. Yeah, let's try that. again, if you've got an Ebow, take the time to learn how to switch strings. It will open up, I guarantee, it will open up a whole new musical world. There's my Ebow sermon. All right, let's see what else we got going on here. Hello from Puerto Rico. Greetings. Let's see. I have a multi-effect unit that allows me to use amp sims and compression. Where would I place my overdrive and my stereo, reverb, and delay? So that's from Jeremy. So here's what I like to do. Let me just tell you the basic effect chain for me that I generally set up regardless of the equipment, whether it's multi-effect or individual pedals, whatever it might be. So we've got guitar. Typically what I'm going to do is go right into a compressor. And then if I'm using distortion or overdrive, from the compressor I go into distortion or overdrive. From that point, I'll either go into the effects loop of my amp modeler, if I'm using one with an effects loop, or I would typically place, if it's something like the Strymon Iridium here, where it's just a pedal amp modeler, I would place that after the overdrive. Okay? So it's either effects loop or something like the Iridium. After that, if I'm in the effects loop, I put my volume pedal, my delays, and my reverbs. And that's going to be essentially a stereo effects loop. It's going to come back out and then feed into either my, if I'm playing live, if I played live the once, it'll feed into stereo full range monitors or into my computer for recording. That's the basic chain. So compressor, distortion, volume pedal, and either the amp modeler or whatever effects loop, and then volume pedal, delays, reverbs, however many I'm going to do of each of those. Make sense? It's pretty straightforward. The great thing is you can switch that order around and experiment with it to see what works best for you. You can start with that since I'm kind of suggesting that, but feel free to move things around and see how it reacts with your particular equipment. Okay. Oh, Marpy Mello. Are you serious? You were lucky enough to see the Lamb tour in the 70s? Awesome. So I was in high school when that tour came through, and I remember, sorry guys, for those of you who are younger, let the old geezers talk for just a minute here. I was in high school and I almost went. It came through close to where I lived, and I didn't have quite enough money. And I decided, I'm not going to go. I wasn't super familiar with Genesis, but I almost was able to see it. But I did see King Crimson 4 or 5 times, and I even saw Gentle Giant live. Yeah, that was a good show. All right. And I mixed sound for Alan Holdsworth once. That was a great honor. That was really cool. Okay. I'm done now. Old geezer thing done. For slow swells, do you prefer digital, analog, or tape delay? I love digital delay, and I love tape delay. Whoops, sorry about that on the mic. I love digital and tape delay. I have to be honest, I don't often use the delay types that are called analog. In a lot of cases, they're a little too dark for me. There are a couple pedals that, it's more adjustable and I can get a tone that I really like. But I tend to stick with tape and the digital delays for standard volume swells. In particular, the digital delays, many pedals that will do digital delays also have a lot of options for subdivisions, as do some of the tape delays too. So I like that for adding extra texture when you're doing a volume swell. All right. All right. Well, okay. Simpson, yep. Richard Thompson, yep. Absolutely. Okay, well, I think I'm going to go ahead and just play for a couple minutes, and then I'm going to shut this live stream down. I've seen a couple messages. Some folks are dropping off because it's super late in, I guess, in Europe. So I don't want to take too long here. I've been on for a while, but yeah, let me go ahead and play. I'm going to switch back to the distortion with the Ebow. And this time I'm going to set the Ebow on harmonic mode so we get a little screechy stuff going, which can be a lot of fun. So here we go, and then I'll do that for a minute or two, and then I will bid you all, in America at least, good night in America. Yeah, there's the screech. Everybody. Hey, thanks so much for hanging out with me. If I do another one of these one of these live streams soon, I was kind of thinking about doing one where I build one of my Chords of Orion long play pieces, like as we do the live stream. Let me know if you would be interested in that, either in the chat or drop a comment on the the replay of this live stream. But I'm thinking that might be fun. I've had a number of questions over on the Long Play channel. Bill, how do you put together 8-hour-long pieces of music? I did one a long time ago that kind of showed how I did one, but I thought it might be fun just to actually build one on a live stream so you can kind of see some of the techniques that I use to do that. So let me know if that would be of interest to you. Again, I bid everyone a good evening, or if you're in another part of the world, a good afternoon, a good morning, or a good really late evening if it's in the middle of the morning for you guys. Thanks so much for all the support, all the love, and I'm looking forward to posting more videos and doing the next live stream. Talk to you all later.